Today we're going to talk about the correct MLA formatting for an English paper. So you've been assigned an essay and you've completely forgotten how to get started. That's okay, a lot of students do. The first thing you want to do is open up a Google document. Once you've done that, you need to insert the page numbers on your essay. To do that, go over to Insert right here, click it, then hit Page Numbers. You want to select this option right here. It has a 1 and a 2 on multiple pages. That means that it will insert a page number on every page you create as you write. That will help you save a lot of headache at the end, so make sure you do this before you get started. Click that option, and the number 1 will appear up here in the top right-hand corner. In order to save yourself some headache later, you want to insert your last name before your page number at the very beginning so that it will put it on every single page. To do that, simply put your cursor in front of the number 1 and write your last name. My student last name is going to be Brown, so I will type Brown and then put a space. Then I'm going to highlight it and come over here to make sure that it is in Times New Roman and size 12, because that is the font and the size that we will use in our essay. Double click down in the bottom and boom, there's Brown 1. Now every time I create a new page by writing my essay, Brown and the page number will come up. Your next step is to go over here to the top left hand corner. This is where you are going to put your heading. First, before you get started, make sure that it is in Times New Roman and size 12. If you do this now, you won't have to worry about it later or turn it in the wrong format. The first thing that goes in your heading is your name. My student name is going to be Kelly Brown, so I will type in Kelly Brown. Underneath that, you put your teacher's last name. My teacher's last name is Connolly. Then you put what class this is. This is Honors English for sophomores, so it's going to be English 3-4H. Then you're going to put the date. Today is 12/7/15. Then you hit enter twice to move your title a little bit farther away from your heading. Once you've done that, make sure you center your title by clicking this button here. I'm going to write title so that you know what goes there, but when you're writing your essay, you need to create a dynamic title. This title should introduce your topic, but also keep it interesting. This is the first impression readers will get of your essay, so make sure you pull them in with an interesting title. Now you hit enter, and it will come down to the center. You need to make sure it's justified to the left so that we start at the left side of the page. Every single paragraph needs to be indented so that your teacher and your reader know that this is a new paragraph. Before you get started on writing, you want to make sure that this is double spaced. In order to do that, you need to highlight the title and the space below it. If you've already written stuff there, you can highlight that as well. Then you go up here to the line spacing option, click it, and choose double. This will double space your paper. If you do this before you get started on your writing, it will double space it automatically. This will give you a more accurate view of what your essay is going to look like as you write it, and will help ensure that you don't write too much when you're trying to meet the page count your teacher requires. Now, you know that you need an intro, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. I'll save you the lecture on that today because we've talked about it multiple times in class. Today I want to talk about how to cite a quote from the novel. Let's say that you found a section from the novel that you think would be a really good piece of evidence to support your idea. In order to cite it correctly, you need to put 2 quote marks and then write your quote in. Let's say mine is, all the skilled workers had already been sent to other camps. Now, this may be where you say a period needs to be. That's correct. However, when you're citing a sentence from the novel, the formatting is a little different. Instead of putting a period here, we're going to put quote marks, then a parentheses, and the last name of the author. This author's last name is Oiselle, and the page number that I got this quote on was 54. Then you close the parentheses and put a period. That's where the period goes, at the very end of this citation. That is important because that tells us that that is the end of the complete citation. If your sentence ends in a exclamation point, the exclamation point goes inside the quote marks. The same can be said for a question mark. But if it ends in a period, the period needs to be outside the parentheses. Now let's talk about if you want to cite a quote inside a quote. Now that sounds very complicated, but in reality, it's not that bad. When you discover a section of the text that you want to quote inside your essay, but it has someone else talking in it, or maybe it has a letter written within it, or maybe it has the character reading a billboard aloud or reading a book aloud, those can get tricky in the citation department. So I want to show you an example of how to do that. In this novel, I've chosen a section that is the end of one paragraph and then the beginning of when another character is speaking. So in order to cite this, we need 2 quote marks. Then you write in the end of the paragraph. So mine says, there were only about 100 laborers left. That's a period because it's inside of our quote. We're not at the end of our quote yet. And this is the end of the paragraph in which no one is speaking except the narrator. Now a new character is going to speak, so I need to place a single quotation mark at the beginning of this sentence. That informs the reader that someone new is speaking. Then you insert the quote. It's your turn today. Then I put a single quote at the end because this indicates that this is the end of the first part of what our other character says. Then we have a break in which it says, said the secretary of the block. Then he begins speaking again, so we need another single quotation mark. You're going with the next transport. And then the character stops speaking. This is going to be the end of what the section I would like to quote from the novel. So I need a single quotation mark to show that this section of what this other character is saying is over. And then I need double quotation marks to show that the section I'm quoting from the text is finished. Now you'll notice that there are 3 quotation marks right here. And that's okay, because we've now shown that everything we're quoting is complete. Then you have to put Oiselle and the page number. After that, the period. Now, this is an example of how to quote a quote within a quote. Then this is an example of how to quote anything from the novel. Now that you know how to do both of those, you're free to get started. Please remember not to use contractions unless in a quote and to punctuate your paragraphs correctly.